What is going on, folks? I appreciate you for clicking that video. Let's get into this show, man. The Continental from the world of John Wick. We all know it's a popular trend nowadays. If there's a hit movie, there's a spin-off show to come after it. We have examples of this like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Solo. Even The Boys now has a spin-off show, Gen V. That actually wasn't too bad though, but I'm only 4 episodes in, so we're gonna have to see. And though some turn out to be good or pretty decent, I think it's safe to say that majority of the time, they usually end up being pretty forgetful. And a lot of times it could be the writing, it could be the budget, making the show seem a little bit more cheap. Sometimes it could even be something just as simple as not caring about the new protagonist that we're supposed to be following. A lot of times it just comes down to the fact that it just doesn't feel like what we knew and what we love. So when I heard about the John Wick universe having its own spin-off series, I gotta admit, at first I pretty much thought it was gonna be more or less the same. Seeing how much that people actually like the John Wick movies, my assumption was that if they did come up with a spin-off series, it was probably gonna be about young John Wick, because the first time that we meet him, he's already retired. But with all that said, I'm actually glad that I can say that the show exceeded all of my expectations.
Impressive, most impressive.
This 3-episode series was jam-packed with action, generally good main plot that was handled really well, and surprisingly likable characters and arcs that I felt were earned and satisfying. This show actually had pretty lengthy episodes, about an hour plus each episode. So that kind of made it feel more like a long movie than it did a TV series. The series takes place in the 1970s in New York, and it tells us the story of a young Winston Scott and his quest for revenge on the manager of the hotel, Cormac O'Connor, for the death of his older brother Frankie. And in this, Frankie used to work for Cormac and had since he was a kid, and now he's decided to kind of go against that and steal a coin press from the Continental. And I thought that this central story was great. It was easy, it was simple to follow, but it was also engaging because I learned pretty fast that I liked these characters and I was now invested into their stories. Winston Scott turned out to be entirely not what I thought he was in the John Wick movies. He's definitely the younger and the more innocent brother of the two, but the minute that Frankie does die, Winston becomes a whole nother problem. The man is smart, not at all afraid of a fight, fueled by his mission to avenge his brother's death. He puts a well-versed team together who also want revenge for Frankie's death. It was awesome to see Winston before he started running the Continental, and also his plan to take it over. I will say that Winston actually felt pretty different than he was in the movies, but we're talking about a 30-year plus gap. So I'd imagine in that time, anybody would probably change quite a bit. So I found it believable and not hard to get over. Mel Gibson as Cormac, I'll say pretty quickly, he was really good. He was actually a good laugh, and I mean that in a good way. Mel played crazy and the gimmick really fun, and with his sarcasm and his dry jokes, he had me cracking up almost every time he was on screen, except for what he did to the cello player. That was kind of messed up. Another highlight for me were the brother and sister, Miles and Lou. Their dynamic was enjoyable and it was well built, being 2 young kids who lost their father and now try to keep their dad's dojo up and running, but also not really being able to bring in customers. And I loved how Miles was down for the cause from the very start, and he was a pretty great addition to the team. Lou was cool too, dealing with her no guns rule.
So uncivilized.
And believing in her dad's code and trying to do right by him and by the code. She was also hella badass. The scene in the photo booth with the officer that's following her, that had me shocked because she beat him down. And I mean beat him down. She beat him bad. There isn't too much bad that I could really say about the show. Sure, the fights weren't perfect every time, but for the most part, the combat was fun. It was brutal, and I feel it isn't too far removed from what we're used to in the John Wick movies, and it felt like it belonged. Almost didn't like the casting of Jenkins. I have bad TV PTSD from seeing Ray McKinnon as Lincoln Potter in the Sons of Anarchy and Mine show, and I gotta be honest, I absolutely hated that character for all of the horrible and awful things that he did in that show. So I wasn't too sure how they were gonna make me like this character, because in my head, I couldn't get, the minute I seen him, I couldn't get Lincoln Potter out of my head. But the minute that he's introduced, it takes care of that problem. It really establishes that he's a good character and you like him right off the bat. just from his opening scene. And I was sold. His opening scene was that good. It instantly made me like him, and I found myself rooting for Jenkins. So to kind of sum it all up, I really enjoyed season 1 of the Continental. I think it delivers on what it was trying to do. It's a fun addition to the universe of John Wick. And I think if you're a fan of the John Wick movies, you'll enjoy this show and walk away not feeling like you just wasted 3 or 4 hours of your time. That's all I got today. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this review, check out my latest video talking about Ahsoka season 1 and my thoughts on that. Also, hit that like button for me and subscribe to the channel for more of the movie talk. And if you're into gaming, you can check out my gaming channel. It'll be linked down in the description below. I hope you have a geeked up day. Peace out.